However, in 1925, quantum physics came into our world, and quantum physics said the material world that we perceive is actually an illusion, that the whole universe is not split into matter and energy. The whole universe is actually just made out of energy. So how can we understand that when you look at the world and you see all the physical things and you could push on things and feel things? And then we find out all those things aren't matter at all. They're all energy. How does that make any sense? Especially in a Newtonian materialistic science world. Well, the answer is this. When we look at what are called atoms, there was a philosopher by the name of Democritus. And what did he show? He said that the smallest parts of the universe are uncuttable. In Greek, uncuttable is atom. So the name atom means that this structure cannot be reduced any further than it is, the smallest particle of the universe. So atoms come in different varieties, and sort of like recipes, you can add atoms and mix them in different ways and create different things. So our perception of an atom is these small little physical particles. But in 1895, physicists said, wait, there's something inside those atoms. And they looked inside, and what did they find? Oh, they found there were smaller things called electrons and protons and neutrons. And all of a sudden they were saying, oh my God, so there's smaller particles. Yeah, well, that was valid until about 1915. And around that time, physicists had a different perception because they said, what are those smaller particles made out of? What's an electron made out of? What's a proton made out of? And what did they find? They found that they were made out of energy vortices, nanotornadoes. When they looked inside the atom, guess what? There was no matter in it. So in 1925, when quantum physics was established, our vision of a Newtonian material world only was now challenged, because now we live in an energy world. Everything is made out of energy. And as I said, well, how can you see something that's made out of energy? Because a characteristic of energy is it's invisible. So if I'm made out of energy, how can you see me? Well, interestingly enough, it's the trick of the light. I go, what do you mean? Well, light sends photons from its source. And when the photon hits the energy field, it's reflected back. So you see the reflection of light. What's really important? You can't see me in the dark. And when you do see me in the light, you're not really seeing me. What you're seeing are photons of light being reflected off of my surface. Underneath, just energy, nothing physical at all. And I say, well, why is this really relevant? And the answer is because then it opens up to the fact that what we perceive as matter is not only influenced by other forms of matter, but because matter is energy, it's also influenced by all the energy fields around us. So all of a sudden it says that the signals that drive life don't have to be chemical drugs. And in fact, what we understand now is that the signals as energy signals are much more efficient and much more effective in controlling protein changes than are physical drugs. Relevance is this. What sources of energy do we know affect us? Well, of course, there's outside energies in the environment that we live. But more important is this. Consciousness is an energy field. Consciousness isn't physical matter. It is a consequence of the action of nerve cells manifesting an energy field. And I say, why is that relevant? Because it turns out that consciousness is one of the most vital sources of controlling protein behavior. That our consciousness, our attitudes, beliefs, and emotions are not just random experiences, but they actually can impact the movement and operation of our proteins. And this becomes profoundly important because it says our thoughts are not just random, but our thoughts are influential and altering the proteins in our body, which in turn provide for our behavior, and as we'll talk about later in epigenetics, actually are involved with controlling gene expression. And this changes the name of the game, because no longer are we victims of a material world, because now we recognize that consciousness controls our biology and the character of our lives.